Happy Sunday. I hope you're having an amazing weekend. We are going to talk about when shit hits the fan, not the fan. And I am going to tell you a story. So I'm live on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you see me looking back and forth, that's why. If you are here live with me, comment below, interact with me. I love to hear from you. I want to know what's resonating with you, if you need me to expand on anything. Also, if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. So I know that you were here. I can give you some love. So again, tonight we're going to talk about when shit hits the fan. And I'm going to tell you a story of something that happened about 4 years ago. I'm not sure that I've ever actually talked about this live. I've written about it. I am like a writer through and through. But I'm like, man, I've never actually talked to you live about this. So okay, let's go ahead and dive in. So about 4 years ago, this also has to do with part of like stumbling into my spiritual awakening. So if you are in your spiritual awakening, if you feel like you're on the brink of it or you're entering it, it can feel like a freaking roller coaster. I'm like, what are the words to describe this? It's a lot. It can feel like a lot of ups and downs. You're having like these epiphanies and these aha moments. You're starting to see things differently. And you're like, what is going on here? You're like laughing and then you're crying and then you're crying and you're laughing and you're laughing and crying at the same time. And like everything just feels like a fucking shit show. But then it's really good. Like it feels really good. So before I hit my awakening, it felt not very good. So here's what happened. So as you guys know, my husband is active duty and he spent a year in Korea. This was 2016 to 2017. And right before he came home, we owned a house in Arizona. And because he was still overseas, I actually decided to go ahead and sell the house myself. And that way we could just have it, not have to worry about it, whatever. What I didn't know was that because he didn't have orders, I would have to pack the entire house by myself. We had just under 2,300 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It was huge. My kids were super little. They were like 9 and 4 at the time. And we had 2 dogs. And I started packing in November and I listed the house in February and continued to pack. And then some sweet friends and family members, as I call them, actually helped me out in getting everything into a storage unit. It was one of the most stressful years of my entire life. And those moments are when I had been experiencing anxiety off and on a lot after I had my oldest son. I started really struggling with my mental health after we lost a baby in between Austin and Colin. But even more so after Colin, I never went in for postpartum depression, but it was so clear that I had it. It was very trying time. And it's one of those things too, where it's silent. It's just not talked. I think more and more women are starting to talk about it and we're starting to normalize it. And I love our generation for that because we're normalizing how we're feeling, right? We're not just shoving shit under the rug anymore. And we're not doing the things that are not serving us as often anymore, right? So towards the end of selling the house, I had back-to-back anxiety attacks. At one point, I was hyperventilating so bad, and for days afterwards, I had like my chest physically hurt. And after that, I really decided I've got to find a way to allow myself to be calm on the inside, even though my external reality felt like I was going. And that was when I decided to start to meditate again. So a little bit of a backstory is I have been meditating off and on since Austin was an infant. He was born in 2008. So probably like 4 or 5 months later, I started meditating at suggestion from my very first mentor. And that was a piece of me that I had been in and out of, not super consistent at all, but I knew that it helped when I did it. And so I started like like dabbing back into that. But when my husband came home in May, we moved to South Dakota and from Arizona, and we lived in a hotel room from the beginning of June to the end of July. And I just remember one day after, we had I had unpacked the entire house as my husband went to work, whatever. And then shortly thereafter, we had both sides of the family come visit, and then my kids went to school, and I was in like this really hustle, go, go, go mentality of the business I was doing at the time, and I was very passionate about what I was doing. I absolutely loved it, but it was burning me out so much, feeling like I needed to do all the things. So the transition of not living with my husband for an entire year and reintegrating our lives together and us as a couple, and then getting my kids into a routine, getting used to a new place. We went from extreme heat to some it's cold most of the time, 9 months out of the year here. And we're in western South Dakota currently, and there's not a lot of sunshine most of the time. And so we went from like having 10 cloudy days a year to mostly cloudy, cooler days. And it was just it really started to affect me. Everything just felt like it was stacking on top of each other. And I remember one day when my kids were at school, I set a timer on my phone, not a timer, an alarm on my phone to make sure that I am stopping what I'm doing before my kids get home. And I am kind of like giving myself time to go from work mode, Kristen, to mom mode instead of like integrating both of them and feeling like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing, but also my kids need my attention. I felt like that was the best fit for me. And so as I was sitting on my couch waiting for the kids to come home, I was just having I felt like this panic attack coming on, and I'm like, what is going on? Like everything just feels like it's caving in on me. And I just it was like a breaking point for me. I was like, enough is a fucking enough. I cannot continue to live this way any freaking more. This is it. I can't do this. And so I pulled up an app. I think it was Headspace. I don't currently use that one, but I was using Headspace at the time, which is a great app. They have really great features, especially if you pay for them, but they had one that was just like a breathing, like a 4-count breath. And so I did that for about 3 to 4 minutes. It wasn't long, just long enough to come back to myself. And again, I realized at that point, enough is enough. There has to be another way. And in that, it was like that decision was made and the floodgates opened. Everything just opened. And shortly thereafter, I was like, okay, I said I was going to do the meditation. How can I do this in a way that feels good for me? Because when it comes to meditation, I actually put on my stories today. I'm going to make reels out of them. But I asked people what they're struggling with when it comes to meditation, and the busy thoughts, the not being able to sit still, the feeling like you don't want to dive into the situations that are coming up. Those are all very real for me as well. I just felt like I had 100,000 tabs open. My husband always says I have too many boxes open in my head and I need to close them. It's gotten a lot better, but I felt like it was having a ton of tabs open on a laptop or a computer. Do you know what I mean? Where you have all these thoughts and these things that you need to do and where you need to go, and oh, don't forget this, and oh, I got to do that, and blah, 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 blah. And it just, by allowing myself to decide that I was going to meditate more in a way that felt good for me, allowed me to clear the thoughts, and through the consistency of not giving up on myself and allowing myself to center myself in the chaos of everything else that was going on in my life, I learned how to see the thought and release it, to not claim it, to not emotionally attach myself to the thoughts that were coming in, to allow it to just release, whether it was with a breath or seeing it as a cloud or tapping it with a wand or a stick or whatever, and just poof, allowing it to be gone. And then crystals started showing up, and honestly, as a kid, I collected rocks, but it was never something that was of super interest to me. But I started seeing them more and more, specifically on social media. I'm like, okay, what is all of this? And so I started learning about crystals. I actually bought this huge kit, which I actually don't recommend. I bought this huge kit off of a website called Energy Muse. They're a really great resource, by the way. And I learned about all of these different crystals. I overcomplicated the shit out of it, like trying to figure out how I was going to cleanse it and trying to figure out how I was supposed to set the intention into the crystal. And like, it just felt like every single thing that showed up for me felt like I was trying to overcomplicate it. So it came the crystals. The oracle cards were a lot of fun because it felt like play for me, where I could connect to my spirit guides and I could really receive the information that was coming through. And I started to see like different things shifting in my life and again showing up. Manifesting, like the concept of manifesting was something that I was familiar with. If you've ever heard the book of The Secret, when I started my first job after my husband joined the Air Force at our first duty station, I worked at a bank, and I still, like today, love these women. We had such an incredible connection. We had so much fun working together. But one of my friends, her name is Aliana, she actually recommended this book to me. And she's like, it's like a coffee table book. It's one of those books that you can just refer to anytime. And then I watched the, I don't know, it's like, it used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it is anymore, but I had the DVD and I would just play it in the background of my life and I would study it and try to understand the concepts. But what I didn't understand was that because I didn't believe fully in myself, these concepts, I could help them work for myself like once, but they would never work more than once, or it wouldn't be consistent in my life, where it just wasn't showing up a whole lot. So I love the concept of manifesting. I was understanding what was possible for me. I was seeing it happen for other people, but I was not fully believing in myself because of the deep-seated things that were like instilled into me from society, from, you know, the way that I grew up or anything like that. And it's not right or wrong. It's all just information, right? It's just all these beliefs that I created in my mind over the years. They became my truths when they're really not my truth. And I also started learning about sage, and I was like, again, I ordered sage and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to use sage. I want to protect my energy. I was learning that I was an empath, and I was like, now that I know that I'm taking on the energy of other people, how do I protect myself? Do you see where I'm going here? Like, this floodgate opened up and they're like, okay, we hear you. Enough is enough. You're ready to experience these different things that are going to serve you in different ways. Let me show you different tools, right? God, source, universe, whatever you believe in. And all of these things kept coming to me, but it felt so overwhelming. I was using Google, I was using Pinterest, I was using YouTube, I was spending hours and hours and hours and trying to figure out what everybody else was doing. And in return, it just felt more overwhelming to myself. I did have a really good friend. Her name is Steph. We went through our awakening together. And she was like, girl, you are complicating everything. And she was telling me, like, she would just buy stuff and she would just use it. She's like, I don't even know how to do this. I'm just going to trust myself. And I would buy it, and it would take me like a month or more to figure it out, to figure out like the new moon and the full moon and how to use sage and manifesting, which I've been trying to do for years, and energy protection and crystals and everything, and journaling as well. And I was like, I thought this was supposed to be fun, because when I see everybody playing with their beautiful crystals, I'm like, oh my gosh, those are so pretty, but I don't know how to use them. And I felt like every time I picked one up, I needed to know what it meant. I needed to know that I had to command the intention that it held. I was feeling like, okay, I'm journaling out all of these thoughts, but I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I felt like, oh, I know that I'm an empath and I'm taking on the energy of others, but I cannot fully figure out how to protect my energy. I love using sage. I love the way how I feel, but it takes so long to do. Like, everything just felt like such a big ordeal until it didn't. And then I realized, as I stepped away from the business that I had been doing for many years, and I began to finally trust my intuition of all the stepping stones that led me to where I am today. This is a whole nother story. You guys got to listen to my first podcast episode. It's Rise Within Conversations, where I talk about the path to a spiritual, oh my gosh, words. Spiritual awakening and fear and overcoming fear. Definitely go listen to that Rise Within Conversations, very first episode. It is a whole vibe. I think you guys will laugh and you'll like nod your head and you're like, I feel you. Yes. So anyway, once I understood all of these things, and I mean, I'm not an expert in like the depth knowledge of crystals and like every single like property and what they're made of and all of these amazing things. But when it comes to utilizing crystals for our highest and best good, when it comes to being an empath and understanding what we are taking in, and that sometimes the anxiety and the stress and the things that we're feeling and the emotions that we're feeling aren't always ours. And understanding that meditation doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be any certain way in order for us to feel good. And understanding like manifesting can work as long as we're consistent, and also we're shifting what is coming up for us and allowing ourselves to continue to uncover layers and limiting beliefs that come up that say that we can't have it. Because the truth is, you can have whatever the fuck you want. You just have to believe that you can have it and uncover the BS thoughts that the mean girl inside of your head is telling you that you cannot have it. It's just simply not the truth. Truth is, she's trying to keep you safe. That's the truth, because of different things that have happened in your life. But just because she is trying to protect you, this mean girl in your head, these thoughts that are coming up, just because it's trying to protect you doesn't mean that it is your truth. You don't have to claim that as your truth, right? And so I thought, what if I could make a resource for all the humans that were struggling, that were really wanting to dive into these woo-woo things, as I call it. Maybe the people that are like, I know, there are women out there like me that are like on the brink of like awakening, or they're like really wanting to understand like crystals and like being an empath and all of these things that I've been talking to you about, but really just not even knowing where to begin. And I know for myself, like I said, spending hours and hours and hours and hours diving into and trying to figure out and learning all of these different tools and things. And so that's where I created my free ebook called Woo Woo Basics. I birthed that into the world, and I was like, gosh, this is cool because I cover the basics of crystals. I cover meditation basics. And I also give you smudging basics along with a ritual. And then as I release this into the world, I got this download one day while I was hiking. What if I could take this a step further? What if I could take the complexity out of spirituality and simplify it? Because this is supposed to be fun. Like, this wasn't fun, but it's supposed to be. And when I took the complexity out of it, and I was just like, oh, this is actually really amazing. Now, doing the inner work isn't always amazing. Doing the inner work can sometimes be really, really hard. But what I know to be true is the more that we do the inner work, not even the more that we do it, that there is some truth to that. But as we begin to do the inner work and we uncover those layers and you start to see the other side is lighter. It is more joyful. You have less of, triggers and the things that start surfacing for you because you've healed them and released them. That's not to say that you won't ever be human and have human experience and emotions, because that's just part of our experience, right? But it will allow you to be at more inner peace, right? And so all of these things are just tools. The crystals, the smudging, those are the main two things, like the crystals and the smudging. they're all just tools in our tool belt to help guide us and support us through this awakening, through our journey, and allowing ourselves to learn what we're feeling called to and guided to, and trusting our intuition, and allowing them to be part of our journey, right? I am so freaking obsessed with crystals. I was actually telling my husband, I was like, I don't know when the last time was that I bought crystals, actually, as I'm sitting here. Isn't this one beautiful, by the way? There's some rainbows in this. We'll see if we can find them. It's a clear quartz sphere with crackle inside, like it's crackled inside. It's so pretty. Anyway, so I can't even remember. I just got my answer. Oh, the last time I bought crystals was like 2 months ago, which has got to be a record for me in the past like 3 or 4 years. I just love them so much. They're everywhere, but sometimes I'm just not called to them, and that's okay. So what I did was I followed that intuition, and I got the download for all the information of these things that everyone has been asking me on a daily basis on how to utilize crystals, where to buy them, how to know exactly how to use them, how to cleanse them, different ways that you can cleanse them, because there's all kinds of different ways that you can use them in different parts of your life. And also, I got the download for energy protection. If you're an empath, this information is good for you. This is something that every empath should know. Being an empath, you should know this. Being an empath is a superpower. Once you learn how to harness the power of being an empath, you can absolutely see how you can truly make an impact in other people's lives while also not feeling like shit yourself, right? Because we do take on that energy. So in my course, Woo Woo 101, I cover those things that I just talked about with crystals. I talk about energy protection and being an empath and what that means and how the different ways that you can protect your energy. I talk about meditation, how to not overcomplicate it, I give you different exercises on how you can clear your thoughts that come in and allow yourself to center yourself. I also, as a bonus, include my energy healing meditation series, which is infused with quantum Reiki, the quantum Reiki healing work that I do. I host group monthly sessions, and I do one-on-one sessions, and I also include them in my spiritual life coaching package. But the quantum Reiki can be infused in literally everything. I actually did a reel the other day too, where you can go back and you can look for that. You can actually feel the quantum energy through the screen. Energy is energy, right? And it's really powerful. So I include 5 meditations for you so you can, learn how to protect your energy through a meditation. They're all short, they're all guided, and they're gentle. They're a whole vibe. So there's one on self-love, on chakra alignment, on energy protection. There's a couple other ones. And then I include manifesting. We go into manifesting 101. These are all just like, how in college, your freshman year, it's like everything is 101. Well, that's how Woo Woo 101 is, because it's the first step. Like, I feel this was a first step for me into like learning the different things through my awakening, right? Where manifesting, we talk about how you can receive free gifts and more money and more abundance brought into your life. I give you specific steps. I give you specific activities that you can try. I actually raise your vibration. I can't remember. It's a really short riff that I do, but I raise your vibration in it's under 5 minutes. I know it's under 5 minutes. We talk about smudging. I talk about the sacred art of smudging. So I go into the history of it, what it means, because I think that it's really important for us to understand that this plant medicine, I'm not talking about weed here. I'm talking about sage. So with sage, it's important for us to understand that it is of our land and the history of it and the Native American culture and what it represents. And also I give you different activities on how you can smudge, the rituals, the different ways, different things that you can do, also other things that you could use besides sage, because in my opinion, I love using sage. I love the way our house feels and how I feel after I smudge, but also it really stinks. So I give you other different plants that you can use. And then we talk about, what else? Going inward. So we cover the very beginning steps of going inward. And this is what I talk about most now on a day-to-day basis, of healing, of journaling, of what it means to start being the gentle observer and looking at the situations that are coming up for you and observing, and the things to journal throughout each of these 6 videos. There's 2 bonuses, the full moon and new moon rituals, as well as the meditation series. But in these 6 videos, every single video comes with a PDF with every single resource that I talk about, all the journaling prompts, any homework, all the things. They're all in one really beautiful laid out location. I worked diligently with my web designer to make sure I had the most simple but beautiful login for the member dashboard. You get access for life. So there's 3.5 hours of content, 2 bonuses. If you are feeling called to this, this is for you. If you are feeling like you are reaching this point of there has to be something to help guide me and support me through this. And maybe you're not quite ready for coaching yet, or maybe you're not quite ready for the investment of Journey to Your Soul. This is a beautiful place to begin. My clients, actually, my friend and student and client Morgan, she wrote about this today, how it helped her. She often went to Google to try to figure everything out, and how in this course I put it all in one place for you to make it easy, to make it simple, to make it fun. We're putting the fun back into spirituality. That is the goal, right? The goal is always to feel good, and I want that for you. So this is for you if you are like, oh, I just really need some tools and I really need to simplify using crystals and where to find them and all the things. I really want to learn how to smudge. I need to learn how to protect my energy and how to release the energy of other people. I need to learn how to really bring more abundance and cool shit into my life. And I want to learn the art of going within in just a beginner's aspect. So if you're feeling like this is a good fit, link is in the bio. You can go to www.andsherises.com, click courses, and then Woo Woo 101. You can enter the code Woo Woo through Thursday night, the 16th. I think it's the 16th, Thursday, September 16th. And you can get a special discount that is good for a payment. I have 2 different payment plans. I have a pay in full. If you pay in full, I have 15 energy healing bracelets that are a whole vibe that I will send to the first 15 pay in full as a bonus from me to you. And what else? If you have any questions, I'm a message away. Check out my stories. I have a few testimonials from 3 of my students that wanted to share some of their feedback on their excitement through the crystals video, and one was one of her experiences with the meditation that I provided for her. So anyway, I hope this helped you in some way, shape, or form and gave you some inspiration for the night. If you have any questions, again, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.